baphinde babe bayagoduka. So in a nutshell, what I can say, amongst abantu ebebeze apha kule marking center, sina 3 markers has tested positive. Fortunately, bebezihambela ngemoto zabo because abangeni eziklasini bengatestwanga. So asabinayo ke i-choice, sabareleasa. But one marker eyaqale yatestwa yaye asayibona ncam xa ihambayo. Sisabhizi thina, but ke sizayicontacta because funeka simenzele i-claim ye-transport yokuza apha. Otherwise aba bayi-2 bona sebezifilishile i-claim forms, sezithunyelwe ziyaprocesswa. I-personnel elapha yetitshala esingalishayo is 133, including i-deputies, i-senior markers, ne-chief markers. The need distribution of classes zethu sina 10 is 2 for paper 1, because paper 1 ngabantwana bethu bakaJune bayaregistalisha bangabhali. As a result, amaphepha abo ambala ayi 2,799. So bona bana only 15 markers and 3 senior markers. There's no deputy as according to the requirements of the department. Then paper 2, we are now une markers ezininzi because una 90 markers, abena 18 senior markers, abena 3 deputies, then bengu chief no moderator. The total of all of them is 133. Coming to the issue of the second paper, I 23,608. So in marker inye is our claimer between 260 and 261 October. Then our baka paper 1 in marker nganye is our claimer 213 somewhere there. Kota kabashiyan kakhulu. Coming to issue data COVID-19 compliance with center. On arrival, isikolo after registration, each marker was given a pack. Inside that pack, there were 3 masks provided by the school as according to the contract yesikolo that they need to provide us. The sanitizer, the masks zintathu, the toilet roll, the pen. In each class, khona sanitizers. Nesiphele iyafilishwa zo umuntu enayo eyakhe. Xa ungena pha egate, i-securities check temperature, zikunika questionnaire, uyifilishe, then zikuvumele. If i-temperature yakho is above 38, abakuvumeli. Kuthiwa khawukhume ide ihlika because what you picked up is that xa usemotweni temperature yakho iyenyuka, kodwa ukhe waphuma emotweni wanebreak, iba bhetere, iyaphinde ibuyele kunormal. And sipikishe lento yobana uba bathatha i-temperature kweli cala ekuseni sekuphumilanga iyenyuka, so kungcono basebenzise i-direction ngapha. Zizinto esizipikishileyo ke ngoku. But xa uthatha i-temperature suyithatha kwecala liza umoya kuliza ilanga. Asiyiprovanga tata kodwa yinto esiyipikishileyo. But ke scientifically asikayiprove kandle besiyirhalela uba ibiyenye ye-recommendations zethu kwa-health sithi sicela ke basitshenje bakhe basincedise kule nto uba xa ilanga litshisa ngapho uthestwe ngapho i-temperature ayifani naxa uthestwe kweli cala. I get Kwi-classrooms ke tata esimakishela kuzo asinayo i-class e-accommodate abantu more than 20 ngokwe-protocol. So abantu bethu bapha ku-10, 15, 18 kuba kukho i-senior markers. Asinayo i-classroom engaphezu kwabantu abayi-20. Okunye kokulandelana lapha e-hostel, sine-hostel zimbini, sineyabafana, sineyosisi. E-hostel, i-maximum ngu-5 ekamereni, i-minimum ngu-4. Kodwa kwezinye kuba imarkers zingenintsanga bayalala nangabathathu. Into emandi ke nge-hostel yalapha iNyanga, ine-cubicles. umuntu ngamnye unespace sakhe asigilani. Uba ngutata ugada uneyakhe indawo, nam ndineyam iprivacy ngapha nomnye uneyakhe iprivacy ngaphaya. So far ii-age zethu bezifanele into yobana ziyi-44, but in the meantime sina-35 because ezintathu khange zifike because abanye bathi bayaphangela. Enye challenge esibethileyo kukho iiyunivesithi zasezivulile, so ke ngabanye abantwana bahambile. Then besina-41 ngokwesystem asibaqashi thina because xa beyorejistarishwa isystem iyabakhava. Umzekelo kukho abebesidujile abayi-6, then ke ngoku xa beyoqashwa for uba bazowubhatala yabapikisha isystem uba bazi-teacher assistants. So we didn't have a choice, kwafuneka sibarilisile because asizukwazi ubabhatala kabini bebesidujile because besithe umntu ongu-assistant teacher makadisclose, bangadisclose, but ke ngoku isystem yababamba bafuneka ke ngoku sibakhulule ke bona. So kuloo 41 besinayo ngoku sishiyeke nge-35.
It was a bad also in the national because they wanted another system which can create the kind of control. And also to have both EAs. But Castle, I was because the system was control up until the payment and board can verify all the payment. So that's why they was doing
personal numbers and personal number indicate uba teacher assistant ebizana enongekhe umzekelo, so iyamchaza. No data. Xa sele epeyiwe iba deactive personal number yakhe. Though izawuvela esystemini izawuba deactive ayizusebenza. And ubuphinda waqasha kulo nyaka ozayo bona izawuactivatwa ke ngoku. Immediate payment iprocesswa then bayayideactivate ke ngoku. Angaphinda kwazi uyisebenzisa. Everybody tato lapha e-marking center. Qala kum uyotsho kutata lo phaa ulungisa igadi. Everybody was tested, or positive, wakhululwa. For instance, apha esikolweni mnye utata oyiklina owatesta positive, umfundisi ke ngoku wadila naye. Like uba nomama ikitchen i-4 yakhe yanikezelwa kuyo. Then thina i-EAs sazireleasa plus imarkers. So likhona iyavela mva, but everybody was tested negative. 4. Yes, sir. Nothing. Asikaboni ke nam because every day siyamontasha sifuna ireport, asikava mntu nomntu othi ndimpuqumpuqu, akho nomntu okhe wathi ndirhaleluya kwagqirha because every day sine-meetings no chief okanye ndiye kubo ndiyofumana ireport because ii-meetings zenza where there is a need because sisavoida laa nto yodibana. So ndiyakubo ke ndicheckshe uba akho zi-reports, abantu bonke baserayithi, nasehostel akhange kubekho ngxaki. Then uba kukho into mhlawumbi engakhange ilunge silungise loo nto. Ndicinga uba ndigqibile tata, kodwa ke i-marking isaqhuba, asikagqibi umakisha. Ngokwe-department fama i-marking center iyavala nge-22nd. Kodwa ke sesisemaphethelweni ngoku ugqiba i-marking. Ndicinga uba mhlawumbi it's either tomorrow or Sunday maybe markers zona zizawuhamba zisheke ke ngoku i-senior markers nootshifu begqibezela iimcimbi zabo ne-report and all that. But i-marking yona izawuvalwa isenta nge-22nd xa kuthathwa amaphepha.
So overall, what is your experience? What are the implications? Is it this marking center for the first time when you get the marking center before?
Ngunyaka wesibini i-marking center. Inoba ke ibe ilakhi ke kutata uQamata because ibiqala last year ndiyayikwandim u-center manager ndaphinda ke nakulo nyaka. I-advantage ke was that amahlaba ebesinawo last year ndiwazile ndingekezi ke sakhomketha noprincipal sajonga ezaa zinto because kaloku umzubu usaqalwa i-marking center. Khange ke ngoku sibe na-problems at all kulo nyaka. Ngaba ndiyaxoka tata uba ndithi bezikhona even kwii-markers khange zibe khona. Qha ke apha kukho abantu abanintsi zawusoloko zikhona ke into ezincinci ezipeti athi omnye andiyifuni ukuyitya into ethile but ibimenyu sithi but silakhi thina because umama ungewana usityisa ngaphezu kwemenyu le ye-department ngezibele zakhe ke inoba udaliwe. Nankuya uMrs Ngewana nguye umntu o-responsible for ikhitshi eli. Ngowesikolo ngulo uqhela utyisa abantwana. Uqhubeka nendlela yakhe. Ndicinga uba ke tata so far asikhange sibe nazo ke thina ke nazi ngxabangxaba zitheni nakwi-markers. Asikabi nanto i-issue esithi side sayithatha mhlawumbi sayithumela head office. Zinto nje ezi-internal esiziresolve kwathina bezingafuni mntu ungaphandle. Ne-issue ye-transport ibikhe yavela mphathiso uyayiqonda nayo ilungisekile then ayikho enye into ke ngoko. Ndicinga ndiqhelile.
Enkosi kakhulu center manager. Masibulele. Omnye center manager besiye kuye wanikezela ku-principal uba principal yithethe yonke. Wathi yena uyi-team leader apha esenteni. Principal ndiyathemba uba akho nto ufuna uyongeza.
Manbolise Premier MEC DD zonke officials. Ndikulinde Premier. Masilindeni nje Premier. Kodwa ke mhlawumbe ngokusesalinda uPremier xa lidlula nje kule nto ye-marking center MEC ndithe ndawuva uba izikolo ziyavulwa zawuvulwa nge-15 kaFebruwari. Ndacinga uba bekunoba njani uba le ndawo seyilungisiwe apha for i-markers iseyihlala injalo u-district director azise abatishala baneengxaki ne-mathematics bazotreyinwa apha noba yi-5 days bahambe ukwenzela baze kuthi mhla kuvulwayo babe besemandleni. Sendincokola nje besides because i-comment yam on the marking center ndizayenza xa sekufike uPremier. Ndifuna nje ke sibe siyicinga loo nto leyo uba singalimoshi nje eli xesha because inokwenziwa into yoba batheste. There are only 70 educators as teaching maths in the FET phase in Ngcobo, and I know that less than 10 that don't need any training. The rest need to be trained. So ndifuna nje sizame nocinga along those lines. Masesendlinda uPremier for the comment on the marking center.
For record purposes, mhlambe mandiyiqhawule le ndawo because it's gonna be key for all of you to know what then becomes the provincial picture as of now. and what then becomes our approach moving forward and wrap up the marking process and be able to reposition ourselves for the next academic year. So ndilungiselela ke nabo abantu bahamba nathi ukwenzela uba bangaphindi bandibambe ecaleni baseske beyibamba ngoku because this report has been given to the Premier. Today, we are on the 13th day, it's not so. We are on the 13th day, that's one important thing. But equally, we are one province that have taken a very progressive but unpalatable decision. A progressive decision in the sense that everybody must be tested when come here. It was quite a very sensitive matter under the current environment, but that has been taken for us to be able to be informed, both scientifically and otherwise, to know what is going to be the profile of the sector in terms of its own personnel moving towards the school readiness, reopening of the schools, and also the 2021 academic year. So isincedisile ke la decision thina siliphondo yoba si subject wonke umuntu kula process, because ngoku uyakwazi uyibona into yobana when president is saying Eastern Cape is a hotspot area, ngokwakuthi kwa education, where then becomes the hotspot area? And how should be then the department response to that? So that's why I was saying it has assisted us a lot on that one. The second aspect is that landibithethwa center manager. These centers differs from one to another in terms of some of the internal processes that need their attention. We've got 3 centers ebekezana ingxaki, your Nico Milan in Humansdorp, your Jill College in Somerset, and your Cream College in Glenstow. But equally we dealt with them because they needed, these ones needed an attention of the head office. As far as very nakwazi resolve lezenu ingxaki ezi zinide attention yethu, but we were able to deal with them and close chapter on them. Again, all those problems were resolved in the marking, and the progress has been registered, so there is no problem in relation to that. In particular for you to know is that kulendala examinations, in terms of testing and also managing it at a provincial level, the examination assistants, out of the 15 that tested, only 15 that tested positive. Yaqonda mos besiyoyika le process uba xa kusithiwa i-problem generally phaya ekuhlaleni, so inganayo impact yocollapsa the marking progress. So, but out of 1,315 that tested, only 15 that tested positive, and they have been discharged of their own duties and were able to deal with that. Also, out of 180 management centers, only 17 that tested positive. Again, the level of infection is declining as against the thinking that we had previously over, hey, marking if it is not managed properly. Also, in terms of securities, because our security plan yet are critical in ensuring that you manage them. Also, out of 364 tested, only 6 that tested positive, which then again gives you a picture of where are the risks and how do you then mitigate such kinds of risk if you happen to have that problem in relation to that. But okubalulekileyo that I just wanted to lift for you so that you get motivated and you get also some zeal to proceed with the work. Out of 4,945 markers, only 379 that were withdrawn from the marking on the basis of the fear of COVID. Maybe apply Sheila, but again, Premier, they then withdraw. But because of the systems and the data that we have, we had a quicker substitution and replacement of those people. So we didn't have a hiccup on the basis of the withdrawal. And also out of the 240 shortages of markers, we were able to get back and replace and redeploy 232 out of them. So, la fear yeza withdrawals that I was raising in the first day Premier Yoba, in particular on the home language, the second home language, which is English. The problem was the 10 withdrawals. And then we advised the sector to go back and look to the data and be able to bring some replacements and be able to progress. Hence, the center manager is saying, we are able to close in a space of 5 days to come without any hiccups because placements have been made accordingly and we didn't have a choice. Now, I would be failing the provincial government if I wouldn't say this one. The Department of Health Premier has been able to deploy 10,000 masks across all the centers, except the ones that we bought for ourselves. We bought 14,000 masks for all of them, but the Department of Health then added 10,000. So hence we were able to make sure that we don't have that much of a challenge moving forward. So that's the picture that you have in the province in terms of the progress that we have made thus far, and also in terms of the lessons that we have learned out of conducting these examinations during this COVID environment. So when sitting there, mandiphethe nje kwazonto Premier, so that they also, as they conduct their business here, are able to locate this center within the provincial picture and also within the national picture, because these are national examinations, not provincial examinations. So it's important that each center is able to make sure that what transpired in other provinces is able to capture and be able to deal with some of those questions. So generally, Premier, kuyo yonke la personnel ilapha eprovincini that is conducting marking now, we only have 3.5% of positive people out of 7,748 personnel, by 7,748. So I'm then saying that 3% is insignificant as against the anxiety that is outside, and also as against the deadly behavior of the virus that we have outside. So in essence, it means at least the province is beginning to creep up with the social problems that it has before that actually made the increase of the infections and therefore deaths. So hence I'm saying I'm pleased with the 3%, 3.5% of the positive people that have been picked up out of this system. The only thing that I think is going to be important for the top management next week to look into as we close up the report on the marking and examinations process is to use as a benchmarker this report for the school readiness as we open up schools in in the space of a week to come, especially for the elderly educators, because the minister was saying, kuzafuneka kubekho ubuchule boba persuade aba bane-comorbidities and also these that are above 50 years, so as not to risk their lives, and therefore during this period between the 25th and the 15th of February, so that we manage that transition quite very well, because abantwana bazabe bengekho ngela xesha. But the duty of us is to process any logistic and administrative matters that the institutions of learning would require from us. Hence, we were in agreement that let's have in a phase-in approach kulendo yokubuyela ezikolweni. Kuqale kubuye SMT, then after that kubuye otishala, after that kuyobuya abantwana on the 15th of February. So that you phase in and be able to detect what could be a challenge and a risk in terms of the adjustment that we have made. Thanks, Program Director.
We're fortunate at NYANGA because iMarkers, the Sally Hostel, EEA, the Sally Hostel, asinayo the movement. So everybody will appear to hostel.
All right. Premier Ben City mandongeze nje kula report ibisenziwa ngu-center manager and say inyanga iqale ngo-2019 uba i-marking center. Kukho into enziwayo ke i-province ekuthiwa i-technical report after each year. So kwi-technical report ka-2019 kwi-centers zonke, I think there were about 20 centers last year. I-center ekuthethwe ngayo kula report was Nyanga High School, Nyanga Marking Center. Kwade kwathiwa pha, although it was its first time, but it exceeded all expectations. Sayivuyela gqitha ke le report. I think this comrade wandixelela uba ze ndifunde la report. I think it is also because of the team esiye Beka. Njengoba ubona I'm not part of this elidwa nguMiss Manquku, Mr. Skunana for security, Mem Lolo for accommodation, Miss Njavuto for marking center, Mungwana for catering, Mr. Mateisi for transport logistics. A very vibrant team that has done everything. Njendane thamsanqa nje loba ndinyula abantu abaye bakwazi uyiqala le process. And then I must then say ke ngoku yes, MEC, I also interacted with some people who tested positive and had to go back home. And what I was highlighting is that the person olapha noba is an EA ebengazazi bo positive, then wazazi, meaning that now makabaleka bheke ekhaya, because there might be elders at home nabo who are already positive, so that because yona nto ibalulekileyo impilo more than any other thing. I must also say ukongeza that we have been having visits also by, we were visited by DG Umuheli Matanzima, we were visited by Elijah Mhlanga on the same day, accompanied by District Director. We have had visits from the province. Mr. Joseph was here, Mr. Mabona was here. Sayibulela ke le visit yakho Premier. I think as a gesture of appreciation, ndiyabona uba khona gifts ezibekiweyo similar to the gifts that are given to every markers. Xa niphuma nisendleleni ephumayo. Now sanitizer nje nibona uba yintoni le besibapha yona. Enkosi. basuka in the province.
So abantu abadiscovered abo babafundi bafuna isolate abamakwabo kodwa apha you are just less than 5 kilometers to the hospital and une-isolation room elapha.
Yeah, I think
Are we able to thank them, manager? Because abantu besefile bezinaka babe kuteste positive kontra kuphela kwecontract ngoba ke xa eteste positive ukuhamba kwakhe siyamreplace thina into yokumlandela simjonge uba usaphila okanye sinamgcina oswelekileyo kanti hayi baphuma bonke apha bafike bagubhe ikhona enye indoda yakhe athengeni iyeza intwana mansimini itofi ibhusa zayo ivimba ngokuba umntu osecawa yaphayelani kanti kayitofi ibhusa bekanti ikubela abanye sikise ngaphandle bayibona laa nto ebemvimbi iyeza efonini ibhusa zabo ziphela ngesitofu then ezigcwelise efandeni lele zisile so ebona
Fortunately, Tata, aba bethu otishala bathathu siyabatreka simane sibatshekishe no babengenazo iimpawu bengekho nto ibonakalayo, but it's only that ii-results zithe kubo ba-positive. Otherwise siyacommunicate nawo umzekelo nangoku besigqibenza ii-claims zabo izolo elinye besikhomunikeyithile nabo. Abantwana bona immediately kusithiwa kuba batheste positive ndafowunela ii-parents zabo there and there ndicacisa uba ubani wakho ufumene kwezivasi zakhe zipositive, sinayo indawo yokugcina. Yangabazali ke ngoku abathi no baziseni futhi abantwana. Otherwise i-communication between thina notishala and between the parents okay, i-communication between thina notishala yenzekile. I-communication between i-parents nabantwana bazi-EAs yenzekile. Yangabazali ke ngoku abathi sicela abantwana babuye notishala yangabo abathi hayi sicela ugoduka. And ndiyayirhalela uyihighlight uba it was not an easy thing lo mcimbi wowutesta tata, kodwa ke wenzekile. Ushiya unentloko kuwesibakhe kwathiwa nangutishala upositive uzawubizwa i-Department of Health Center Manager sinale nto. Funeka ngoku wena ucinga uba how do I approach lo tishala, how do I approach le EA ndiyichazele ngezi results. But fortunately ke sizamile. I don't want to lie, usister obedeploywe apha kuthi from All Saints wenzile umsebenzi wakhe, because before mna ndithethe bebaqala bakhansilishe, then after that umntu kuhluphekile simhoye, then ke ngoku simbone uburayithi is then ke ngoku simrilisayo kube sithi ndicela uriliswa. Otherwise yona it was a frustrating exercise but isincedisile in a way. Enkosi tata.
Enkosi kakhulu Center Manager. Honorable Premier, it looks like zonke presentations, i-briefing ibilungiselelwe wena zipresentiwe. I'm not sure ke MSC ngoba ungathi ubusowukhomentile. Mhlambe ungaske nje kuba ngabe uPremier akanayo enye into azayithetha. Sicela i-contribution.
kuba wonke umuntu ethetha mandibulele. Program Director enkosi kakhulu Bhele, mandibulise u-MEC uGade, ndibulise u-District Director walapha eChristiani East, ndibulise u-Center Manager walapha eNyanga Senior Secondary School, u-Principal, bonke ke abancedisi abakhoyo kule center njengoba besebechaziwe. Ndibulise ke ne-journalist ezi, ndiyambona umfo kaMbulali pha ka-SABC. Ngoku ubhutikali lethu uGcobo wakufundisa uba indoda enye izibamba zombini. Yabona ke wayesokolisa mna amaxesha amaninzi amasithi kabamba abdiya ayokroba ngasemva uba ikhamera iqhuba njani. So siyabulela ke kwi-journalist zonke ezikhoyo Bay TV as well. They've been here, ufika kwethu, naba base office in Caprimi. Center manager, we are just doing our work. It's a monitoring and evaluation. We can't do oversight. Mhlambe xa siphuma apha kuzawungena amalungu eParliament azazokwenza oversight on. Thina sizojonga into yokuba izinto zihamba njani, zikhona neengxaki, silungise iingxaki, sikuncedise uzokwazi uba yi-manager ephumeleleyo. We happy that bendingayazi uba nezikolo ezisezilalini ziyayinikwa le opportunity yokokuba zii-marking centers. Besiloko siyi-theorize le nto, ndiyibone izolo practical. Izolo we're bearing the SG of the department in Alwal North, Mr. Kojana. Xa siphuma emngcwabeni kaKojana sayawutsho phaya e-Alwal North kula center. That's a very unfortunate center thus far. Out of all the stats that has been tabled by MEC provincially, that's the only center where we have lost a marker. May his or her soul rest in peace. Tested positive and released and went home. I think when we were there yesterday, they got the news yesterday or a day before yesterday that the person has succumbed. So it's a very unfortunate situation. Still a relatively young person whom we have actually lost there, Upahai, is the name Yak. We said when I heard the center manager there saying, I'm so impressed by NYANGA. That school is doing everything right. I've heard about Model C schools, and I've seen a Model C school in the deep rural areas. The center there is perfect. I think credit was coming to you now. Probably he was basing that report based on the technical report you were referring to from 2019, that the center there is perfect. So immediately I had an interest. I was just told by the center manager in Alwal North, by this center here. So praising you guys. I found him very diligent, perfect with everything that he did, but I wanted to see something exceptional from what I saw, because from what I saw yesterday, I thought that if that's how they do things, we should be relatively okay, because I've seen systems in place. Well, it's a modern school. It's a bit developed school with better infrastructure, but the man in speaking, yet out of all these marking centers, he had to mention this center. They are bigger than you, talking about 69,000 papers that they are marking there, etc., with more than 200 markers that are there with a bigger number of examination assistants, etc. What worried me with them was that their examination assistants are not staying there, it's in and out. I felt very much threatened that all the work that you are trying to do to contain the spread of the virus or fundamentally disrupt the transmission of the virus might be compromised if there are people who are loitering or who are doing in and out of this. And we have said this should be a quarantine for a period, a duration of marking. You come in, you don't go out, so that we know how to manage the situation. The COVID-19 is deadly. It is catastrophic. It's actually eroding the humanity if you look at it. It's unprecedented that in 10, 11 months, we have lost almost 9,000 people. And many people whom we have lost are people who would still be alive if there was no COVID-19. We're losing everyone, leaders, everyone, our old people. This morning we woke up on the sad news of big business people. Utata usisa Bigisha, lona usithengisela ke uKFC ke. uKFC wonke olapha franchise elawulwa ngulatata siphinde sothuswe ngutata umafanya uChase ngapha eDikeni baninzi and many other people. Every life is valuable, so we're losing lives. So uTedros, the Superintendent General ye World Health Organization, ithi isigqibo osithathayo sowuphuma kwakho uyodibana nomuntu okanye uye komnye umzi funeka ba usazi ba sisigqibo of life and death. You must make that choice. Ukuhamba uthi uyodibana nomnye umuntu endleleni, it's likely that that person could be the cause of your end of your life. Ngoku ndiphuma abaphandle umhlobo wenene ufuna i-interview ubuza uba siyithini le nto yabantu abasakhungayo. Njengoba sisithi makungcwatywe ngeveki, abantu bayawuhlala iveki yonke kulaa mzi because ii-relatives kubuye wonke umntu bazodibana apha. After a week, almost all those people are following. You see, the trauma that I've heard today of what is happening in Tabankulu. Yokungcwatywa umama 2 weeks ago. Kusweleke usisi, kusweleke ubhuti abe bezongcwaba. I was here in All Saints. Apha deputy principal walapha esikolweni. Similar story of the deputy principal here, just across the road. Dr. Ngcobo, you know, I mean, we are in that situation now that we've got to treat this thing quite serious. We're here to support the markers. The sacrifice that they are making, it's worrying. It's creating nervousness. No one would just take this. Ngeli xesha linjengeli kodwa ukushiya kwabo ifamily zabo bazosebenza apha bezosebenzela the young people who are still searching for their future. It's actually commendable. It's a level of patriotism singenawuze siyilibala. Besizojonga nje bona sizobanika amazwi enkxaso, sizobakhuthaza baqine akululanga. It's life threatening even to be here. Ndiyabona uba sesideke itafile kodwa ingase netafile lena man ndiyayiqomba itafile yabahlala abantu abayi-10 kodwa siyijonge man ingakumbi xa kwiitafile ezi-empty noba etafileni ungashiyeka abantu ababini nabathathu singathanda kuba sazikhulula ezi mask zethu sidle awuzukwazi udla unxibe imask unfortunately kodwa sawuyikhulula le mask we are also more at risk ekuhlaleni kwethu. So we are really quite thankful. The report is quite comprehensive. It shows a working ecosystem. Usuke kitchen, ukuya umama oklinayo, ukuya kwi-security. It's quite impressive. Now we have seen the detail of what goes into this when we came in at 18. There is no compromise, and we really appreciate that. We can't risk lives. These lives here are quite important. These are loved ones. These are mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters of their own family. So we've got to protect them. We must do everything in our power to make sure that we don't risk them. That's why funeka singahlali ixesha elide thina abantu bayi-risk sinishiye sikhawuleze sihambe. We just see and observe, and we're quite happy with the work that is happening. Siyabulela ke kakhulu Center Manager and your very diligent working team. I'm happy that I got reported name markers up, they are giving us headache. Sisabuvalile ke nguna nezanto zemandi isavana nentonto akhona umuntu onofuna ulwisa kunye umuntu ngaloo nto xa uphuma nje uphuma udinge ulala uvuke kusasa uphinde uphangele. Yeah, but we are quite happy that these are professionals, senior professionals and older people. Surely we should not be experiencing such kind of problems. Enkosi kakhulu. Ndabulela.
Enkosi kakhulu. Oh.
Ayikho kwethu.
Enkosi Tiya. Yakho Tiya. Masibulele kakhulu ngalo mazwi enkuthazo Nkulumbuso. Ngokwale program njengoba ethilo premier sifikelele siyabulela premier ngokusikhuthaza kwakho uDistrict Director usmilile all the way. Iyandixelela ke into yoba he is happy as well. Siyabulela principal. Iyakhuthaza imoto yesikolo sakho. Njengoba kusithiwa nje i-scientist ilizwe zilitolukile. Into kushota ziyenze kulitshintsha. Wena uthapha esikolweni abantwana baprodusayo, baproducele into yoba they must change the world. Le nto ingakenziwa mntu. Masibulela kakhulu. Andazi ke center manager from here sawugayidwa nguwe ukuthi siyaphi na. Siyabulela kakhulu umphathiswa wezemfundo. Ndithatha ngoba sigqibile Dlamini. Into ndifuna uconfirm ukwenzela into yoba sivale kakuhle. Center manager sicela kusikhokhele ke ngomhlambi kwindawo ofuna ubonisa upremier nomphathiswa around. Upremier ke nguzawuphuma ajonge kwezandla kusetyenzwa kuyo into yoba le report ibinikwa le mira ingaba iyathalisha nalanto azafika kuyiyo pha ku-workstations. Enkosi kakhulu, our program has come to an end. Thank you very much.